let's open the work session. Signature file. Just a reminder to come in every once in a while and sign documents. Okay, done. Facebook page discussion. And I looked at the thing that was put together by Zack. An email that was sent around.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, Jules and I met last week on this. So yeah, it was last week on this as well.
And are you looking for kind of like a go-ahead or a
yeah, I mean, I think we're sort of at a point where we either need to decide that this is something we're going to go ahead with or not.
Does Jules have any input?
Benny? Benny?
No.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it live, and
Benny?
you know, do you want, Zach? Do you want to just discuss the mechanism of limiting comments? Just kind of.
Oh, sure. You probably didn't get the thing that I distributed around.
Jules.
I did read some.
Sorry, Tom can't get in.
Oh. Well, it looks like that's on his end. I don't know.
Should I tell him to try again?
Yeah. Tell him to disconnect and try again. Yeah, I read it,
Okay.
and it looks like you're gonna pin to the top of the page a disclaimer, which is, you know, we can just keep it pretty short, I think, and to the point, what the purpose of the page is, and to push out information about hearings and meetings, etc. And then if you want to just discuss, in case anybody hasn't read it, but I read it, about.
Yeah, so the way we were thinking of having it configured was that all the new posts to the page would originate from the website. So basically the same kind of published policies we have for that publication now would extend into you know, what information we're sharing there. And that we would disable the ability for anyone to like open a new conversation over there or to post something to the page. They would be able to share those posts, and then, you know, for anything that we posted, they would be able to comment on those, but they wouldn't be able to just kind of start a off-topic random thread about something.
Well, I just caution you, be careful what you ask for, because you're going to get the nasty comments. Just look at the police website. We get them all the time. Or the police Facebook page, rather. We get them all the time. I mean, it's going to happen just as long as you're prepared for it.
Yeah.
You know, it's, you know, they're going to say some not so nice things or whatever. You're not going to make everybody happy.
Steve, how do you manage that? You just sort of, it is what it is?
It is what it is, because if for you to take somebody's comment down or something like that, it's unconstitutional. And actually, police departments have gotten sued for taking people's comments down. If something's really inappropriate, we report that right to Facebook and we let them take it down.
Mm.
So, I mean, Steve, arguably you're kind of a lightning rod, you know.
Yeah.
We're probably like a partial lightning rod, I guess, but I would think that you would draw most of the like negative attention.
Yeah.
Just by the nature of things. So, yeah, as long as it appears to be manageable, I'd be willing to, you know, go for it. And I had this discussion with actually Brian Murphy, who was kind of concerned about it. And it's not like we can't take it down, and we could, for the simple reason that we're not like avoiding discussion or, you know, negative comments getting posted, but we could simply say that budgetary issues have kind of like mandated that, you know, we can't support this, you know, Facebook anymore, and just like take it down.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I don't think we're really going to get ourselves in too much trouble. And if we do, then we'll just kind of rethink it.
Steve, I'm curious why you didn't take it down.
Why what?
Why you haven't taken it down.
Well, for the purpose why you guys are creating one, it's a very useful tool for getting information out
Okay,
there.
good.
Very useful. Just off the top of my head, just even finding a lost dog. Like, we found a dog somewhere. For some reason, the lost dog, You get more responses with that. I can find somebody's dog in this town literally in 10 minutes by posting it on Facebook. But you put a press release on there about burglaries or whatever, and you get like 4 hits, but you put a lost dog on there and it's shared 10,000 times. So,
You just
but
have to
it's
say
good
in the
to take it.
burglaries that someone stole a dog, and that
There you go. Yeah.
So, Jules, you're comfortable with that? Or at least we'll put it up to, just kind of like test it on our side, or what? What's the next step on this?
So the next step, there's 2 pieces. One, we need to decide, is it Town of Plymouth or is it Plymouth Selectboard? I wasn't sure what we wanted to do there. And then as soon as we turn it on, I'll work with Jules to get the privileges all set and whatnot so she can post to it. And the post will originate from the Plymouth website and we should be good to go.
Tom, do you guys have one for the fire department?
We do, and similar to what you were saying, we get a lot of comments that it would be prohibitive to respond to everyone. So unfortunately, we don't respond to anything. But it is a great tool for putting information out. I mean, it's probably we probably get the most hits, as you said, putting a press release there than anywhere else.
Yeah.
Good way to control rumors in town.
I would agree. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So, yeah, I mean, I would like it to be, if it's going to be up, select board, and then, hopefully somebody will have the time to respond to a lot of that. Because I mean, I wouldn't know the answer to probably any technical questions about some other department.
Yeah.
And then about negative things, it would be nice if the select board kind of, put a lot of positive news. Taking a page from Town of Bristol, they emphasize the positive news aspect of the page. Try to keep everything positive, sort of thing. I don't know. That could be
The
done.
only other suggestion I have, and Zach, you probably know this, is put a picture with every post you put, because unless it shows that there's a picture, nobody's going to look at it. It doesn't matter what the picture is. We'll just put like a sign that says alert and it's a picture. People will look at it for some reason. If you just write something, nobody's going to care. Nobody will even look at it.
Getting back to the good news, I'm sure we could report a lot of lost dogs found. But, all right. So, do we need a motion then, or what? I'm looking to Kathy.
Wouldn't hurt.
Wouldn't hurt. And
Wouldn't.
do we decide? I mean, Jules commented on preferably be the select board. So be the Plymouth Select Board rather than Town of Plymouth, because that's kind of presumptuous.
Town of Plymouth has a website.
What was that, Steve?
We do.
I said, one would argue you are the Town of Plymouth. You're the
Yeah.
select board.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments on that, or
That's
Yeah,
a lot
I
of
agree with
pressure.
that.
what was that, Neil?
I agree with Plymouth Select Board.
Mhm.
Okay. Marianne and Zach,
Yeah, I'm good with it.
what, select board or Town of
Select board.
Okay.
Select board.
Okay, we're heading in that direction, I guess. So, is there a motion then?
Should I just a question about, so Zach so who is going to, do you have a plan for who's going to man it? Sorry, respond and.
It's certainly worth discussing. Personally, I mean, I'm happy to, do that if the board wants me to. I'm also happy not to do it. Whatever the prevailing winds are. I don't know if it's something we want to share. I don't have any personal stake in the game there, but I am happy to, take that point if that's what we would like to do.
And so would you?
And those efforts, I mean, if we're not responding, what else would there be to manage if we're pushing it all from the website?
Yeah, I mean, it would only be responding in the, so I had written in the doc, I wrote a few guidelines. There are, there are times when people might comment on a post that we post that they're looking for clarification on something, and we point them at a link, or they comment and they say, well, what time is the transfer station open? And, it's good to be able to jump in and just say, well, here's the link to the transfer station. I think there is some amount of light engagement we can do that keeps us out of trouble and still looks like we're there. What we don't want to do necessarily is engage in debate, deliberation, discussion, feed the trolls when the negative stuff comes in, those kinds of things.
Yeah, you got to keep the personal feelings out of it and just state the facts.
Yeah.
That's all you can do.
I would think that if there was a policy issue, it should come from the board.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Endorsed by the board.
Right.
One other quick question, Zach, are you going to be responding with your personal Facebook page or at like the select board official page as the responder?
You should always do the select board. Sometimes I make the mistake by accident. I'll go in there and I'm like, oh no, I just used my personal, and I have to go back and delete it and go through the PD page. I suggest you keep everything official and just use the select board Facebook page for everything. And don't use your personal, because somebody will find you and it's not good. It's just not good.
The other thing though is then Zach will be responding on behalf of everyone. Is that putting him at any kind of compromised situation where, he's speaking on behalf of the board?
Well, I think, if they're asking, I see the board doing a lot of referrals. Like, people are going to ask questions about the police department or the fire department or this. So you're going to direct them to myself, Tom, another department head. I see a lot of that happening. But when it comes to policy issues for the town, it's a simple answer as, I'll have to get together with the other board members. We will have to just make a decision on this matter and get back to you. And then you can post the answer after that.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. So I think we're all wanting Zach to be the administrator. We can probably share administrative duties. So therefore, is there a motion to go forward with posting the Facebook page, naming it Plymouth Select Board, and then monitoring, comments and responding to anything not policy oriented? Is that a long motion?
So move.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Neil moved and Marianne seconded. Zach, what's your vote?
Aye.
Marianne,
Aye.
Neil,
Aye.
and Bill, aye. The ayes have it. Oh, I didn't do any discussion, but dang. All right. Okey-doke. Face mask ordinance. So there are several pieces of information in the packet that we received. Was I supposed to do the right to know meeting checklist, which I never do?
You can do that at the beginning of the regular meeting.
Are you serious though? I don't think we
Well, you
ever.
don't have, I tried to shorten it for you, but
Well, we
Yeah,
had like a real short one. Like if you're not
like
in
the governor gave us permission to do this, so there you have it.
On that note, does our permission expire on June 5th?
That's a good question.
Not until the governor takes it away from you.
Well,
I thought it expired at the end of the state of emergency. It's just right now it's June 5th.
Yep.
So
So,
we're all waiting for extensions to see what happens next.
yep. Well, he actually, in the past, he did it like the day prior or a couple days prior. So it's likely that it'll be extended, you would think. But if it did expire, then so goes our right to have electronic meetings.
Right, that would mean that our 8th, we would be back together.
Yep.
Yeah, with masks on.
Yeah. So that kind of segues into the mask requirement and the different options that we might consider. And I actually had a conversation with Marlon earlier too, to find out whether or not, their description of how their students would be behaving downtown were to make sure that they use the PPE that is being stipulated by, their procedures. I think they even indicated that they would, enforce it. Like if they saw somebody walking into M&M Scoops without a mask on, then that would be an infraction of their policy, and that, that could be, well, so anyway, the conversation that I had with Marlon didn't seem to go to that depth. And it may actually, well, it's going to be deferred until probably like July or whenever, until they can finally finalize their policy regardless. But so whatever policy we would come up with would not affect their policy when we're talking about downtown businesses or municipal buildings. So that's probably a long rambling thing to kind of open up discussion on the mass and ordinances and how we should proceed.
You have a draft of that, Bill, from the university?
No, it was actually the meetings that, Kathy and I are going to, there were a couple of them. There's another one scheduled for Thursday, and Steve's got his own, with, Steve Temporino, and so they're like, now they're 12 or maybe 13 groups. So in our group, even though we had minutes from, what's it called, Jess Tutile, they didn't get into that depth. Marlon, when he said it, I took notes, and that's what I put in, but and it's still obviously up in the air. I mean, they can't nail down a policy that's going to be in effect in August until, Deb Burks comes up from DC after getting fired by Trump. So, which apparently the invitation is on the table.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So doubt that's going to happen, but even still, there's still a long distance between now and when the kids finally get back on campus.
Tom, you should probably be in my group. We had a meeting today. It went very, very well. They have an excellent plan in place. They really do.
I'd be glad to. I haven't been asked, but
I know. I think we're going to have another one in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
I'll make sure you get on that list.
Okay. Thank you. That'd
Welcome.
Yeah, I gotta admit that we were just kind of like, coming up with general ideas, like what we would like to see, built in the plan. And then when Marlon came on, like the last half hour of the call, or the last 20 minutes, something like that, he went step by step through this very meticulous plan on how to allow kids back on campus, what they're going to do with the classroom sizes, how they're going to like alter, both the rooms and the residences, and
wow.
I mean, they are really granular already.
Yeah.
So
good.
It was very impressive.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Good.
anyway, you should definitely get on the meetings.
Yeah.
We're also talking about compressing the semester as well. So they're going to start the end of August, but November 20th, done. All the kids go back and don't come back till the following semester because they don't want them going home for Thanksgiving and coming back, obviously,
Right.
which means classes on Saturdays and Sundays. So that's going to help out some of the larger gatherings a little bit. I mean, I think we're still going to get them and have to deal with them, but I think it's going to help.
Yeah. Good.
So
I understand that the enrollment is really up.
It is.
yeah, Marlon was saying it was like a 40% increase in deposits.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Excellent, yeah.
Because we're a nice clean school and nice rural New Hampshire and very small, really kind of friendly and healthy. That's
You
what
should
we
be
are.
on that ad that they have on Channel 9.
What's that, for SNU or for? Because
No, PSU has one.
They have a really good.
I've seen it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, good.
It says all those things about Plymouth. It's nice,
Yeah.
I think. We'll see. Be careful what you wish for.
Right?
Well, hopefully it'll save our school. SOS. Because otherwise, they're going to be hurting if they don't have a fall semester. But anyway. So getting back to masks. We want to open the discussion about like what we would like to see. And I guess this is not the end all be all, but at least we can probably nail down the requirement for the municipality. All the municipal buildings require, face masks of, the general public and also workers. But,
Yeah, we have that in our draft plan now, I believe, for all town buildings.
Yep.
I would concur with town council that, to make it public wide would be an overreach of our authority. And as the chief and I discussed, an enforcement nightmare. And I actually think it could do more harm than good with the compliance that we have now.
So I kind of take exception to our attorney's opinion. In fact, he was contradicted by the governor. So, our town attorney indicated that we cannot assume, jurisdiction over the state, and which makes sense. And, legislatively, I mean, our legislature has the ability to, pass statutes for the towns, and not vice versa.
Yeah.
But then the governor said, yeah, you can do that. And in state of emergency, you can mandate that, the general public shall wear masks when entering a business.
Yeah.
So whether or not that holds or whether or not that disappears when the emergency order, takes a hike. But
Right. Holden has got a similar opinion from their council, and obviously Nashua passed theirs. You're talking about a lot more dense population, obviously, about 100, well, and 100 times the cases in Nashua that we have of positives,
right.
and 10 times the density. I would be a lot more concerned there where you don't have room to spread out and social distance, et cetera.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with Tom on this, that I think it's going to create more problems than it's going to solve and or help or hinder problems from happening. I think people already, you just look at the news, have had enough of the restrictions already. And if we're posing more on them, and not to mention, it's going to be a nightmare to try and enforce. We are going to get inundated with calls. There are people in this business without masks, people in that business without masks, and we're already doing 400 plus calls for service a week without that happening. So we're stretched pretty thin.
And I think we all know that the businesses can implement it themselves. And I know some of the big boxes would never, because it's going to affect their business, and they would prefer to have the government, if you will, be the ones that come down with that. And then it makes us look like the bad guy. But they're all welcome to do that. And some do. I don't know about Plymouth, but I've seen some businesses that you don't go in without a mask. And I've seen others posted online where it's just the opposite. Don't come in with your mask.
Wow.
Yeah, Marianne.
Yeah, no surprise the don't come in with your mask. Never heard that.
Yeah, there was one posted on LinkedIn.
Oh.
Wow.
Just, making the point that it's a free country. I think that was the point.
Yeah, except Nashua took advantage of the fact that they know how the disease is spread, so that a mask would actually save lives. So, I think what they did was kind of prudent, and they got their opinion from their attorney, Steve Bolton. So, of course, that must be.
Yeah, I saw that.
But, in fact, he pointed out where like restaurants or stores would put up signs like, no shirt, no shoes, no service.
Right.
They're already setting up their own criteria about whether or not they would, serve someone with a mask or something like that as well.
Yeah. I read his opinion.
Yeah. So I think we can run the gamut.
And I think, we all know that depending on the judge, even when you do take one of these to court, and I'm guessing Nashua will, you don't know what you're going to get. It depends on, no offense, it depends on the judge.
Exactly. Yep. No, I agree with that.
And maybe they won't get to that point.
True.
And I don't think that's the goal in anybody's case. We want to educate. We want people to be wise in their choices. And some communities feel and states feel the need to legislate it, to legislate, compulsory face coverings.
Yeah. Well, any other opinions from Zach or Neil? Or?
My general observation in my limited time out is that I've seen very few face masks. That I don't feel like generally our community is making the right decision here, which does leave me in a position of being tempted to go the route of putting something into place to more strongly encourage that, because I think as the chief said, people are getting tired of this. Well, the result of that is now they're starting to make bad decisions. So I mean, for me personally, I'm very tempted to want to do something more here, even if that means we're the bad guys.
I think if we lead by example, that might be the best way to go.
Yeah, there's two examples to be made here, Neil. We can be a laissez-faire, you do what you want, or you shall wear a mask when entering a Plymouth business. I mean, I'm on that side, at least more on that side, but it's not quite.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
We need to educate people. Keep pounding the drum.
I think
There's
I'm
people
sorry.
out there that just don't believe it.
And I'm not sure you're going to change their minds. I mean, the message is out unless you live under a rock, but it's still a choice, I don't think you're going to change a lot of hearts and minds no matter what we do.
Yeah, well, but again, if we're of a public health mind, and we know that if you had a positive person in the middle of a crowd, coughing and sneezing, or talking or singing, we know there's going to be like a periphery of a bunch of positives that have been coming down the pike in a week or two. So, we know that. So, maybe we should be responsible and know that if we legislate it locally, then we'd be saving lives. Regardless.
Is there a way to make a strong recommendation? I don't even know what that looks like.
Strong recommendation, and maybe also encouraging local businesses to post something saying, masks. Actually, local business, you can tell people that you shall not come in to M&M Scoops without a mask. I mean, obviously, that's you're right.
Right.
I think if we were to encourage the businesses to, especially like eateries or food servers or, barbers or whatever, they should either mandate or encourage their patrons to be wearing masks.
Aren't they required, barbers and?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Food
The
service,
staff themselves, yes.
food service personnel,
They are.
right, but
Their
not the
clientele,
patrons.
You could say, no, you shall, wear a mask when entering here. Maybe not when eating, because that gets kind of messy. But
Yeah.
it's
How best to communicate that, Mary Ann? You're in the business community. Would we go through the chamber?
Yeah, I don't know. Many people are really connected to the chamber, especially since they, left Plymouth. I think most of us feel it's a waste of time.
So you have a Main Street organization, is that it?
So we do have a Main Street organization. And I know a lot of the businesses, especially the retail ones, the dressers, the Simply Sunflowers, things like that, are restricting. You have to wear a mask. We've actually coordinated buying a bunch of hand sanitizers, and and they're making that available to their customers. I worry sometimes though about, this weekend, and I'm sure most of you noticed, like Zach said, a lot of people weren't wearing masks. There was tons of congregating, just outside my little world, tons of congregating. And, you know, we had one customer who won't come back until people stop congregating in front of our shop. And I had to explain to her, there's really, you know, we don't allow anybody into our shop. So we don't have to worry about that on purpose. We're small as well, but outside there's, you know, we can recommend, you know, please stay 6 feet away from at least the door where people get things. But we can't do anything. No one can do anything about it. And she understood that. So it's tough. I know a lot of them are, you know, it's that difficulty of wanting to be open and wanting to get back on our feet again.
I know some of the groups that I saw in particular this weekend, I mean, they're families that are out together, and whether they're together in front of your shop, and I think we talked about this last meeting, or on the common or at home, I mean, it's the same group.
Right.
Well, and I'm sure there's some, you know, there's some get-togethers that happen randomly because people are getting ice cream on a nice day, but.
Right. We saw lots of 22, 23-year-olds, you know, 10 of them together. Even kids, you know, riding around their bikes, which is fine, obviously, but then stopping together and, you know, things like that. So we can certainly, you know, be happy to put something out there as well.
I know Rand's has, I don't think it's mandatory, but they have masks at the door and hand sanitizer, and I don't know about others, but it's a good plan.
Right. I know most of them have hand sanitizers around only because they bought 2-gallon jugs at a time.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's just how, right, the restaurants, right? You need to make sure, you know, a lot of them are one-time use things. And how do you not handle that stuff? It's all very complicated. Not complicated. It's just difficult to do. It's not complicated.
Yeah.
Difficult.
Yeah.
But yeah, the mask thing, you know, certainly we can put something out there to the businesses on Main Street. They'll probably, you know, be reluctant to enforce that to customers, I would imagine.
Yeah.
You know.
What else can we do, Mr. Chairman? Letter to the editor.
No, that's actually a good idea.
From myself.
Yeah.
Or the board, I mean, as long as there's a messenger.
Yeah, something on
Coming from the health
PBT.
officer.
What's that?
Facebook.
Ice cream.
What was that?
Marianne, is that your ice cream truck?
That's my phone.
It's like Margaritaville or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't talk now. I'm at a meeting. I gotta hang up.
I think another problem that you could have is if it's made mandatory and people are wearing disposable face masks, once they get back outside, they're just going to drop them in the road on the sidewalk. People don't know where the trash is. Seems like it could be a problem.
That's a big issue.
Litter.
Yep. That and like rubber gloves and stuff too, you know, or you know. So I'm, you know, I think we have kind of like an obligation to, I don't know, be the arbiters of safety and such. But, you know, I also see that if a local business were to say, get out of here, you know, get them out.
Lost him.
He froze.
You froze up,
Looks
Bill.
that way.
Bill froze up.
Your audio's good.
Hello.
Hear that?
We can hear you now.
Hey.
We can hear you, but you're froze. There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
Who's
frozen.
that?
It's that cold
It's
heart.
stupid. Did somebody say something?
No,
Oh, you were saying something, but we lost it.
nothing, honey.
We got part of it.
Close again.
I think
Perfect.
he closed up again.
Let's talk about Bill.
Yeah,
He's
he's gone.
Oh, geez. Mm. Oh,
He's back.
there he is.
Yeah, here I am. So we'll see how long this lasts. So anyway, yeah, I don't think well, it's up to you, actually, the board. I think it might be kind of rough to enforce something that local businesses may negatively react to, and the fact that we might be affecting their businesses too. And yet it's still a public health issue. So, oh, for goodness sake, am I locked? Oh, I thought Zach was like, so, anyway, I guess we don't need a motion for not doing anything. I guess we don't have to do anything like today. We could probably postpone it for another couple of weeks too, to see what the governor's and you know, how things are progressing. Unfortunately, the summer is beginning and there's a lot of people coming into town too. So,
Yeah.
Do you want me, does the board want me to write a letter to the editor? We can also post it. Try some of those methods first.
Maybe
Yeah.
we use our
I
new
think so.
Facebook page.
That would be good.
Okay, I will draft that and have Kathy look it over.
Okay.
That's
I
great.
think you need to check into what other towns are doing as far as disposal of masks and gloves goes.
Yeah. I think that's a problem that we're going to have regardless anyway, as far as, you know, even if we mandate it or not, people will still be like, you know, chucking them on the street and stuff, or maybe not as bad as they initially were doing that, but, you know, people are hanging on to their masks now. Now they're mostly reusable, but anyway. All right. So that's resolved. And yeah, we should, so Tom's going to draft a letter. We should draft a letter as well. And maybe consider something that we can post downtown too, from the town, and encourage the businesses to do similar posting.
I'd rather have us have one, I think one message, whether it comes from the board.
All right, let's have it come from the health officer. You can,
Okay. I mean, it's up to you. I'm just saying, I don't think, we don't want mixed messages out there, although we're talking about the same message. You know how that goes once it gets in writing, but.
all right, well, yeah, Tommy, just you know, get a letter to Kathy, and maybe we can start disseminating that. And
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
Yep. Anything more on masks, Kathy, or you just all that information was just for the sake of
That's
this?
for your review.
Okay. So what else? RFP for attorney services. Now, you had drafted one, and
Right.
nobody actually got back to you on any kind of comments and stuff. And are you in a mind to send it out?
Yeah, whenever you guys are ready. If nobody has any changes, then it can go just as it is.
Okay, what's the extent of the RFP anyway? Is it like a 3-year thing, or what, for 3-year contract? What's the length?
Good question. I think it was 3 years.
And did anybody want to take a look at it now that it's going to go out, or has everyone, you know, decided that that's fine? We can just go ahead and put it out at this point.
Yeah.
Okay.
It looked fine to me when Kathy sent it around a few weeks ago.
All right. Okay. Well then, we're done. So we got a 20-minute break, or can we find some other discussion point, or what?
Bill, what's our plan for reviewing sealed minutes?
Good question. So reasonably,
So
what's that?
I said our agendas have been very full, so it's one of those things that wasn't super timely, but.
Yep, and we got a bunch of stuff that we haven't addressed that we need to address as a board, just sitting there in the parking lot, I guess, and regarding the non-publics, we probably should all be at a point where we can sit in the same room and look at documents that will stay in that room. And I think Kathy's got at least several folders of those non-publics that were sealed that we could take a look at it probably at that point. Is that correct? Pretty
That's
much?
correct. Yep.
And is everyone okay with that, you think?
Yeah, I think that's great.
All right, there's that. And there's also like wish list of things that we wanted to have accomplished that have been kind of accumulating over several select board years. So we'll take a look at that to see if they're at all, they should remain on our plates, or whether we can kind of dispose of some of that stuff. But that might be good to kind of like wrangle at a sit-down meeting as well. And when might a sit-down meeting actually occur? If the governor's order kind of takes a hike, or are we planning on?
If he sticks with May 31st, and I think your next meeting is June 8th, I believe.
Yeah.
June 8th. So we could technically be back here June 8th.
Okay. We'll wing it, I guess, at that point. Hey,
Yep.
When are we going to discuss Chris's or McGinley's thing? Are we going to discuss that? Or who's going to bring it? Is Brian going to bring this to our attention, Chris Buckley?
On the 8th?
Well, no, that's all set, I guess. But well, at some point, we're going to have to invite either his wife or maybe the Conservation Commission to accept it on our behalf, whatever. But I'm thinking, wasn't Brian gonna bring up the naming of that, or we're not going to consider that at this time before the board? Naming the conservation property? We're not yet?
Not tonight, but maybe the next meeting.
Okay.
It was brought up at the planning board.
That was brought up at the planning board level, and they did agree.
Right. Yeah, I caught that. But I was just wondering if the board's going to take action on that as well, because the property is within the town's purview, and
Right. So next meeting.
yeah.
Okay.
All right. Okey-doke. So Marianne, how's business?
Actually, the past couple of weeks have been very good. It's still gonna take a long time. We're still maybe a little bit better, but still about 50% down from where we were last year. Same, the past, whatever, five complete months. And we've been, except for a week shut down, we've been open, and for us, the weather drives it.
Yeah.
But I don't know, how a Lucky Dog or a Panther Pub, how they're doing. I know the other ones, the dressers, those folks who just opened up, they were doing some online thing, but it's just not the same. And they're struggling as well for how to, dressers is small. Trying to keep that 6-foot distance, and they're all very, very concerned about that. Simply Sunflowers, same thing, very small environment.
Right.
And they're just opening now. So they're going to learn, how to maneuver, but it's it's bad. I don't know how to stress it. It's pretty bad. Yeah.
I can't imagine like, Lucky Dog or something like that have to have the staff on hand regardless, and
Right.
the food prep, and so they have takeout, it's just not cutting it out. I can't imagine, but
Well, that's been the struggle with the PPP right now is you can't bring people on, you're doing takeout, so you don't have the staff you used to have, right? There's no reason for having all the waitresses or waiters,
right.
but you have bills to pay, and so here's this PPP money, what are you going to do? You're going to have to dip into it.
Mhm.
So they've been struggling using that, right? Because it doesn't make sense not to pay your rent if you've got all that money sitting there. Just, you're doing whatever you can to survive. But, and some of them are adapting. You saw some folks build decks.
Yep.
The Grotto has expanded theirs. Lucky Dog expanded. Main Street Station added on a deck. But
Farmhouse.
still,
Yeah, Tiny Farmhouse.
Okay.
yes, and in Time Farmhouse. But, I was at the
Nothing.
Main Street Station, and, there are 4 tables out there.
Yeah.
You can't, the old, you need to be at least 85% full to make a little bit of money.
Yeah.
So even though they're open, they're not, there's no way you could be making money. Your fixed costs alone wouldn't be covered.
Yeah.
So, I worry about Main Street.
Yeah.
Don't know what it's going to look like.
Yeah. What were they estimating? Like 10% of their businesses will fail. I mean, that was
Yeah,
kind
I mean, I think it's even higher than that. Yeah, I mean, you read about it, right? Places that have been open 30 plus years, right? Most of, especially restaurants, you run on a very tight margin. So even though the economy was supposedly doing good, obviously none of us could survive this. So much for the economy being really good, because then we would have money to get through. And with the tight margins, we'd still be able to, in some way, with assistance. But that's not the case right now.
Marion, do you know if a lot of the businesses took advantage of the state's PPE?
We were just talking about that earlier, and I can't give. I'm still surprised that some places are still waiting for still processing their PPP paperwork. And I know some were frustrated by the difficulty filling out the forms and the information they wanted as well. It's daunting, as opposed to what the governor just released with the Main Street program. Took me about 3 minutes. And it was so straightforward, so simple to do.
You're talking about PPE or?
Yeah,
No,
PPE, but PPE. I mean, the governor was going to give out PPE to businesses, but apparently he's charging for that, or the state's charging for it
Really?
at cost.
I didn't know that. I thought it was free.
Well, I saw some place where they're covering cost. No profit, but
Yeah. Which is good. I mean, you can't get it in some instances, so at least it's available for those that need it.
yeah. But I initially thought it was going to be free too. That's
Yeah.
how it's touted, but
Huh.
But Main Street, I'd be interested in following up on that actually to see how effective that's being utilized by local businesses and such.
Right.
But anyway, is Steve mouthing something that we're supposed to?
There's a ventriloquist thing going on.
Yeah, I said, who let Larry into the town hall over there? He hasn't had his shots. Make sure he leaves. Kathy, do you need either Tom or I for the 6 o'clock meeting?
Let me see. Probably not you. I don't know if Tom wants to stay on for the health aspect, but the disposal of the mattresses.
Okay. I thought we were doing that at 5, but that's fine.
No, it's on the 6 o'clock. Jesse's gonna be calling in.
Okay.
Sorry, Tom.
That's okay.
Okay, so we got.
Steve,
what?
nice to
Oh,
see you.
Steve.
See you later.
Have a good night.
You
Bye.
too.
Bye.
So Mark Halloran's going to be on.
Yes.
Can we ask him the question of whether or not he wants to be cemetery trustee?
Sure, put him on the spot. Why
Yeah,
not?
'cause I called him twice,
Tell,
and
tell him that there was a write-in for M. Halloran. We assumed it was him. So,
so I ended up leaving 2 voicemails on his phone, and he didn't follow up. And then,
I think that's a no.
no, I know that, but if he's like, on camera,
tell him he won't have to do much. And
Yeah,
nobody there
exactly.
will argue with him.
but it would be kind of nice to have like a full vote on that, because then we could have a meeting.
Yeah.
Because it's me and Jen, and that's fine. But
What's the pay?
what's that?
What's the pay?
All the graves you can dig. No.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, I'm out.
0.
Actually, what's her name is after Green Burial again. Probably should say this online, actually. Never mind. But, we're going to be discussing probably, Green Burial. Are you intrigued?
Am I?
Yeah.
No. I worked in the cemetery enough as a kid.
And you've got experience.
You can't afford me.
That could be.
Easy.
All righty. So we still got 5 minutes to kill.
So just so you know, John Ranlett had a conflict tonight. He already had something booked before realizing that yesterday was a holiday, so our meeting was going to be tonight. So he
Okay.
didn't want to lose his money.
It sounds like a golf game.
Gee, I got something booked tonight too. Can I leave? Actually, you got till 7 o'clock.
You have to hurry that meeting up.
Yeah, Neil, are you going to be on it?
If you get it done, yeah, I'll be there.
Okay.
I
There's
didn't see. I'm sorry, Bill. Go ahead.
No, there's a PERLAC meeting on at 7 o'clock.
No.
So Neil and I have to leave at some point.
I didn't see the governor at 3. Were there any grand announcements?
I haven't been watching that lately.
I didn't hear anything.
No, same old.
Nothing new under the sun.
I did, probably shouldn't say it too loudly, but I did hear that Lori Shivenet commented on the fact that the public health labs didn't have much to do because it was a holiday weekend. And they were working their butts off, actually, which
Wow.
didn't quite get communicated to the commissioner of DHHS. But, hundreds of samples and, more workload than usual. So, and their workload's picking up. And
Okay.
if you look at the number of labs, at least the number of samples per lab, I guess this Quest is like number 1, and then the public health labs, and then some other private lab, and then Dartmouth. So, they're still screaming. So, anyway. All right. 3 more minutes. So Larry, how about those Pittsburgh Steelers? They've been playing great lately.
Super Bowl. Super Bowl bound this year.
Yep, sure. In your dreams, that's fine.
Tampa Bay now. I'm rooting for Tampa Bay.
Same here.
All the good players went to Tampa Bay.
Hey, you finally admit it. You're right.
Yeah, you caught me on that one.
Okay. I guess we can't start early. Somebody might be joining us at 6.
Probably.
So I got to read this whole page, huh?
3 minutes here.
You can read the highlights.
I thought, Jules, you had like a really abbreviated one, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff's kind of obsolete at the bottom. And yeah, just the.
How about just the top
We
and
are,
the bottom?
it's a public meeting that's posted on the town's website, like it is every time. The connection information is posted. And if there's technical problems with people getting on, then we will adjourn the meeting for another time in the future. I think that's the
Wow.
most important part.
Looks like you said it just now, and I think we're all set. Well, Jesse's on.
Can you hear us, Jesse?
Well, he's not really connected yet, I don't think, but
No mic.
Jules.
Yes. Jesse's just.
No mic.
It's open for everybody to join. So
We need to adjourn our work session.
No.
no. So and then to clarify that, if one person has a connection, that Stephen Buckley actually did a video on this subject. If one person has a connection problem, you do not have to adjourn. It's when there's a failure of this whole system. So just it's a little more relaxing that way.
They also have to do a roll call.
And you have to do roll call, but you know that.
See
and
who's
you
in the
vote.
room with you. Yep.
I'm not sure about why you would want to do that though. It's a public meeting, but for non-profit, non-public, you'd surely want to do that.
all right. So so are you advising that I rapidly read the whole thing, or just the top paragraph and the bottom paragraph? Or in any event, it is 5:59. Okay, so it's now 5:59 still.
Looks like he's sitting in a comfy recliner. Look at Mark.
Hey, Mark, are you comfy? You look comfy.
Yes, it's great. Best meeting I've gone to.
Hey, Mark, I got a question for you.
Yes.
Since we haven't opened the meeting yet, but have you considered becoming a cemetery trustee?
I did. I got your call, and I'm sorry I haven't gotten back to you.
How about your wife? Because
I haven't said no. How's that? And I'll be trying to limit when I retire. I wanted to limit that, but
it's short and sweet. There might be like 2-3 meetings a year, perhaps, maybe 1 or 2. And we discuss very interesting things, one of which is green burial. And we kind of need a full board in order to kind of have a meeting.
okay.
And we've got 2 people on board right now, myself and Jenny Tebow.
Oh, all right. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, okay now?
Yeah.
Seriously?
I didn't know much about it, but that's fine.
Excellent. Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right. Okay, so it's 6 o'clock. I'm calling the select board meeting to order. And as chair of the Plymouth Selectboard, due to COVID-19 coronavirus and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12 pursuant to executive order 2020-04, this board is authorized to meet electronically. And should you have any issue attaching to the meeting, please dial, wasn't there a number in here? Just dial 236-1812. And I'd like to start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. And when each member states their presence, also please state whether there is anyone in the room with you during the meeting, which is required on the right to know. So let's take attendance. And Marianne Barnsley.
Here.
And is there anyone in the room?
There is not. No one's clamoring.
Neil McIver.
I'm here and there's nobody else in the room.
Okay. Zach, Terrell? Oh,
He's mute.
He's muted.
I am here and there is no one in the room except my kitten.
the kitten, that one that kind of like growls very low.
No, my new kitten.
Oh, okay. Wow. And I'm Bill Bolton, and I am in the room alone. So therefore, we have Pledge of Allegiance. So please stand, and Zach, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes. Always a little bit awkwardly. Pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of
United States of America,
to the
and
republic,
which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Zach. We have two sets of minutes to approve. The first being our May 11th work session meeting minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review that, and there a motion?
I move to accept the minutes as written.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Zach moved, Mary Ann seconded. Zach, your vote?
Aye.
Neil?
Aye.
Oh, okay. Mary Ann
Aye.
and Bill? Aye. The second is from our May 11th regular meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
I make a motion, we accept the minutes as written.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, Mary Ann moves, Neil seconds. Mary Ann, your vote?
Aye.
Neil?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Bill? Aye, the ayes have it. Announcements. The select board will meet on the following dates. We'll have a regular meeting at 6 p.m. on Monday, June 8th, and also on June 22nd, 2020. Work sessions prior to the regular meeting will start at 5 p.m. All of the above meetings will be held in the town hall unless otherwise posted. Citizens wishing to be listed on the select board's agenda should notify the town hall before 12 p.m. the Friday before the scheduled meeting. And the first order of business, well, actually the third, is Larry Gibson is going to recommend us to accept the bid from Andrews Construction and approve a PO. Larry, can it address the board?
Yes, we have received 3 bid proposals to repair the pond at Fox Park. Andrews Construction, $34,700. RM Piper, $41,950. And Dana White, $47,000. At the Parks and Recreation Commission meeting on May 13th, the commission made the recommendation to accept forward for your review and approval the bid from Andrews Construction in the amount of $34,700. And this is to repair the inlet and outlet at the pond. We've actually started this process in 2017 and finally have the money that was approved at the March meeting with the bond money. So just asking for your approval to move forward with this project. Myself, Brian Murphy, and Mike McNally, is that how you pronounce it? The town engineer, we reviewed the plans. And we all are in agreement to accept Andrews Construction for the project. And all permits have been submitted with DES, the Dam Bureau, and just waiting to hear back from the Department of Recreation in Concord for approval, because that pond was built with land and water conservation funds back in 1980. And before we can do anything, any repairs to the pond, we need their approval from the State Office of Recreation. So we don't see that as any problem. They just want to make sure that we're going to continue to use that facility for recreation purposes. So So we're all set. We're hoping to move with approval tonight. We're hoping to move midsummer, early fall, depending on Andrew's schedule and the pre-construction meeting and ironing out all the details. So
Okay. Thanks, Larry. Any discussion? Any
I have a
questions?
question.
Yep.
Who did the engineering for the plans?
Mike Vignali, the town engineer.
All right. Any other questions?
It looks to me like we're under budget from what was presented to the town. Is that accurate?
That is correct.
Good
We
work.
had a lump sum of around $46,000 for Fox Park, and we've come under that proposal.
That's fantastic.
What's the time frame for this project?
Well, we're hoping to start midsummer, early fall. That will depend on the pre-construction meeting and making sure that we have all the permits and the Dam Bureau has to come up. They've got to do some soil samples and things like that. So, and again, depending on Andrew's schedule, we're hoping to begin soon. So
they intend to have it completed this year.
that is correct.
Okay. Thanks, Larry. Is there a motion?
I move we approve the bid, which has been awarded, or I move that we approve the award to Andrews Construction for this project.
Okay, in the amount of $34,700.
Right.
And is there a second? Oh, okay. Zach seconds. So Neil moves. Zach seconded. Mary Ann, your vote.
Aye.
Neil,
Aye.
Zach,
Aye.
and Bill, aye. The motion is approved. Thanks, Larry. And you have one more item, KV Partners, LLC, Fox Park Pond Engineering Services.
Yes, this is in the amount of $5,400. This is for the engineering services, site visits. He'll oversee the project. And it's also for the cost for the Dam Bureau to come up and do their soil sampling. So, and it could be less depending on the number of visits that the engineer has to oversee the project.
The Dam Bureau charges? I guess so.
Yes,
Aha.
I think that's around $1,500, I believe.
Does that include permit fees?
Yes, the permit fees, we've already paid $2,000 to DES for the permit to begin this project. That was paid in 2017, 2018, somewhere around there.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, is there a motion to expend $5,400 to KV Partners for engineering services?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Zach moved, Neil seconded. Zach, your vote.
Aye.
Neil,
Aye.
Mary Ann,
Aye.
and Bill, aye. Very good, thanks, Larry.
Okay, thank you very much.
Go Pats.
Have a good night.
And next, Mark Halloran is here to with an SAU 48 graduation update.
Yes, thank you. Good evening to members of the board and members of the public that are watching on Hemi Baker TV. We've been working with Tom Morrison and also Steve LaFave, and we're trying to have graduations for Plymouth Elementary School. That would be the night of June 5th, Friday night, and the time hasn't been set yet. And then Saturday morning, June 6th, have the high school graduation. That's about as far as we've gone right now in terms of, we would be using the high school, the front of the high school for both events. And we would bring families of graduates only down in cars. They would have tickets to get in. Chief LaFave and Officer Jill Carroll have been working with us along with Alex Hutchins to coordinate that. So both events would be on Old Wardbridge Road, and they would be ticketed events for families to minimize the crowd. Hemi Baker TV has graciously said that they would live stream both of those events for folks who couldn't go. And then whether the graduates are out on their cars sitting in chairs or remaining in the cars, the last time that I talked with Todd Austin, who's coordinating it, he was working with Tom, and they were trying to work out the details, not only through Tom's role as health officer, but also with the state authorities. So that's where we are. June 5th for the elementary school, June 6th for the high school. Worst case scenarios, everyone's parked in their car, and kids would come up individually, get a shopping bag, and that would have their yearbook, their diploma, any of the awards that they would have gotten, and we would slide that to them. And their name would be announced, and they would walk across the stage by themselves. And then there would be a professional photographer at the bottom of the stage, so they would have their photo taken in front of the high school monument. It's right in the entry of the high school. So those are sort of the highlights or the big picture stuff, and we'll get into the nitty gritty over the next week or so as Tom gets some answers to some of the questions that we have. Actually, what can we pull off?
That's great. Yeah, in fact, I didn't think there was going to be anything, but that's pretty amazing.
Well, we surveyed the kids at the high school, and they wanted to have an event where they'd be together rather than push it off into the summer or fall. There's some kids going off into the military, and you know, after school ends, it's hard to get them all back together again ever. So they really wanted to do something during the month of June.
Tom, do you want to say anything about that? Or
Yes, so the general counsel for the Department of Education holds the key to all these guidelines for such gatherings, and we have a message into him. They won't okay it, but they will turn it down. That's quote unquote. So once they don't turn it down, it comes to us, and if they meet all the guidelines that the state has in place, we're going to be fine with it.
yeah,
The outdoor gathering, that is.
that's great. Any other?
Hopefully they will. I'm sure they're inundated right now, but they've been pretty good about. I've been told they've been good about reviewing it in a timely fashion and getting back to us. So we should have an answer this week.
Very
We'll
good.
have to.
Geez, if only we had like a secondary, exit to the high school, like maybe over like the New Wardbridge Road over the Tenny Mountain Highway, or just something to think
We
about.
almost had that years ago, Bill, but that's a story I'll tell you off the air.
Yep. Well, we might revisit it. Who knows? So yeah, that's great. I appreciate you bringing that to the board for at least making it public and stuff. But well, thank you, Mark.
Oh,
Any
you're
other
welcome, Bill. Thanks, Tom, for all your help.
Yes, sir. We'll be in touch.
I'll see you tomorrow, probably.
Okay.
Thank you. Good night to everyone.
Good night.
Thanks, Mark. We'll see you. Next up, Jesse Jennings, and to discuss disposal of mattresses at the recycling plant. So, Jesse, and I guess Neil, you brought this to our attention, or do you want to go ahead and discuss it?
You want me to go first?
Sure.
Or do you want Jesse to go first?
Well, no, go ahead and go first and let Jesse address it.
Okay, what happened is I had somebody sneaked onto my property and dumped a pile of mattresses and sheetrock. And then I started asking some of my people that I'm associated with what they're seeing in town. And, you know, we're getting tires being dumped on the old railroad track down off Fairground Road. And there's been a lot of mattresses and tires and TV sets dumped over the side of the pullover around 612 Fairground Road near the Bachelor Farm. And it's been mattresses dumped down at the Crystal Spring. I had one of the student rental property owners tell me that the dumpsters at the highway department were pulled out before all the students were gone, and they had students that burned a couch in back of one of the houses. And I had a property owner on Bell Road complain to me about dumping on his property. It just goes on. And, you know, I know that the state DES has an order against recycling at this time. But I think we need to find a way that people can dispose of some of these items. I don't think, you know, the highway crew, I know they've been out there picking things up, and it's a real burden for them. And I think we need to have some way that people can dispose of construction debris or whatever, and tires and mattresses. I'm not exactly sure how much material you can dispose of at our recycling facility. And that's where Jesse comes in, I guess.
So Jesse, you want to comment?
Well, I guess I'm sort of unclear what you're wanting me to do.
Can we find some way? I know that you've lost a couple of your workers and you're down on help, and it's making it real hard for you. But is there some way that we could have a window for people to bring some of these items in? I see it as a public health issue, actually.
So as of right now, we're not accepting those materials due to the fact that we would have to be in close contact with the public to have them fill out their slips, make payments, and things like that. That's the reason why we're not taking those items at this time.
Is there some way that maybe the town administration could take a look at a way that this could be facilitated without being an onerous burden on Jesse and his crew?
And I think that Jesse and I can have a conversation and see where this might go. I'm not sure, because I really don't know what's available out there for people to take their stuff to.
What's our scheduled timing on the recycling center opening up for those services again?
The timing is when this virus is has reduced its vitality on the public. So I don't have an answer for you.
So what you're saying is once it's not a state of emergency is the plan? Because I know we have plans to start opening town hall and those sorts of things, where obviously we also have to handle paperwork between town employees and the public.
My concern is the welfare of my employees. Them having to touch recyclables and sort it out would increase the chances of them being in contact with COVID contaminated materials.
If you could require people who bring in mattresses to wear masks and gloves, and they could handle the material, and it could be pushed into a dumpster or thrown into a dumpster or thrown into the compactor with a machine. Would that be possible?
It's a possibility. It is.
I'm afraid people are gonna be just dropping this stuff on the street everywhere. I talked with a couple of road agents in other towns, and they said that they're spending quite a lot of time. People are leaving stuff on the side of the road, and their highway crews are out there picking it up.
This isn't just a Plymouth problem. This is across the state. There are recycling centers, transfer stations that are literally just shut down. They're not doing anything. I'm just trying to mitigate the risk for my employees.
I realize that you've lost a couple of your workers, and you're shorthanded right now, and that creates more problems for you. But I'm thinking maybe we could just have a dumpster up there that people could throw their mattresses in to, make it.
If that's the case, then if we're not going to charge for the town, then it's just the charge would be on the town.
At what point, or do you think, Neil, do you think the problem is critical right now? Or I guess I'm seeking Tom's opinion
Well,
as well.
it's building up.
Yeah.
I think it's competing harms. We have the public health issue, as Neil stated, and we have the health of the employees and everybody that goes to the recycling center. I don't think this is a new issue. I recall, us getting calls in public health about tires because people didn't want to pay, throwing tires on the side of the road and appliances. And I'm sure it's exacerbated now with COVID. I'd be glad to take part in that conversation with Kathy and Jesse to see what we can do to mitigate it.
Yeah, that's.
I know there are quite a few citizens that are quite concerned about this, and I think that we should make an honest effort to try to give people a place to put things. Give people that are law-abiding citizens a chance to, dispose of this rubbish.
Well,
When the
law-abiding
DPW
citizens-
picks it up, where does it go?
I don't know. I don't know where they put it. Maybe they take it up to the recycling facility. I don't know. But I know that our highway department is going around picking up a lot of material. And that means they're exposed to it too. And I know the state highway crews are picking up whatever's on the state highway. Like Fairgrounds Road, it happens to be a state highway, and if it's on their road, they'll pick it up. And then you have some people who volunteer to go out and pick things up, but I don't know where they go with it.
Well, geez, Neil, it almost sounds like we'll have to wait for a meeting between Kathy, Jesse, and Tom to, maybe.
That sounds good to me. I'd just like to see them get a start on it and try to look for some kind of solution. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jesse, you're being deployed until mid-June or later June, or?
As of right now, yes.
Wow. So maybe if you're looking for help at the recycling facility, then look no further than the select board. I don't know. It sounds like you're going to be like really hurting for staff, and that's just going to be like an ongoing. It's been the case in the past too. It's just an ongoing problem, and now it's worse. So
it is. But we'll get through it.
Okay. Just hoping. All right. Well, I guess thank you very much for attending the meeting, Jesse, and I'll let you go if you feel like it.
All right. Well, you all have a good night.
Take care, Jesse.
Thanks, Jesse. You too.
Bye.
And wasn't there going to be a Bartlett Road discussion as well, or is that not going to happen tonight? Or
That was just a request from Joe that I sent you the map of where Bartlett Road is
Yep.
And he's asking if the select board could go out and just drive it so they can see the condition of it, because he wants to have a discussion about what to do with that road. And I
Yeah.
do believe that is the road that we closed off at one point so people couldn't, drive through it because it was pretty bad.
See, I don't recall closing it down, but I do recall it's like a crappy road. And, I drive it pretty often because I'm on Reservoir Road and it's like the way to get to, certain things
Yeah.
on the highway. So, and it is more than just a cemetery. It's also got that, the Ireland lumber mill that's now, been bought by somebody else. So there's still like a business there.
Yeah, okay. 'Cause, and Joe didn't think there was any houses out there.
Well,
No houses, but, go ahead.
I'm familiar with Bartlett Road, and I remember when it was a dirt road, it never was a very good road.
Right.
I think that the underbase is pretty poor and the drainage is poor, and it's really in bad shape. Yeah, it's really rough. You can't go at any speed on that road. But I know that it's also heavily traveled. It's an important link for people up on New Hebron Road and Old Hebron Road and up in your neighborhood, Bill. There's a lot of people use that road. So, you should all go real slow when you go out there.
Yeah.
Oh, we do. And I mean, in the wintertime, it's gets almost passable because all the deep divots get filled in with ice. But yeah, and I remember when that road was paved. I mean, repaved. And it was good for like a year or two, and then rocks and whatever come up, and it's a mess. So it's going to be a major undertaking to redo that road, so it'll kind of like stick around as a road for 5-10 years.
Quite a few people use it for a shortcut to get up to Texas Hill Road.
Yep. I mean, I generally see cars when I'm driving down that road, so it's, kind of like well used. But anyway, if you haven't seen that road lately, and if you want to go take a drive on it, that would be great, but just don't go too fast. My daughter.
Right, he's really concerned.
What's that?
Joe is right to be concerned.
Yeah, I don't recall when it was closed down, but I mean, I could see where it might get to the point of, necessity.
I think one end of it was closed and people were having, were not happy about that because they do use it for a throughway, pass through. And I remember one side of it was closed at one point. I think they only plow to a certain point, and maybe that's why. No.
They plow the whole thing, but I can imagine it's probably wreaks havoc on their trucks too, because there's always like rocks and pieces of pavement coming up and stuff. But
they go about 5 miles an hour,
or 10 if you choose which lane. I mean, you can go on both sides and avoid the bigger things, but that's kind of like upsetting the cars coming at you.
So this is why Joe wants to have a discussion.
Okay. So everyone should go out there between now and June 8th and come back with a report. Okay.
We'll have Joe on the work session.
All right. Sounds good. Now, do we have committee? Is that's it for the general business, correct?
It's just the opening of the town offices.
Yep.
Yeah. So because the governor's order for stay-at-home order is till the end of this month, we're going to reopen next week, but on a limited basis to the public. We're going to be open Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday from 10 to 2 for the public to have access. We are still requesting that they do whatever they can online or by email or use the Dropbox, whatever they can do to avoid coming in. But if they need to come in, if they could call and make an appointment with whichever department they want to come in to see. We're only going to allow one person in at each counter at one time. They'll enter in the front, they'll go out the side when they're done. You know, we're trying, and we do ask that they wear masks when they come in. And we will have those pumps on the walls for them that have the disinfectant, the spray in it, or it's foam actually. And we would ask that they use that before they hand any papers over to anybody. So.
Okay. And there are displays on the doors, correct?
Yes, there will be notices posted of the rules that they need to follow when they come into the town hall.
Okay.
Yeah, if they could bring their own pen, that would be great too. So that we don't have to, I mean, we can't afford to dispose of pens, and it would be an awful lot of wiping down every time somebody uses one. So, but if they can bring their own pen, that would be good too.
That makes sense. Or have 2 buckets of pens, one clean, one dirty. But anyway,
There you
bring
go.
your own pens. Yeah. So Kathy, did you
Yes.
want to do a report, a town
I can
manager
do
report?
that. I can do that.
Add this to it as well if you want to.
I was kind of breaking up there. What was
Okay.
that?
Ann just passed me a note to make sure that I let you, I think I already told you, Bill, maybe that Jesse is taking his part-time person, Eddie Camp, and he's going to move him to full-time.
Mhm.
And we would like to thank Josh McKinnon, you know, for being an employee and wishing him the best of luck in his new position wherever he's going. And if there's anybody out there in TV land that's looking for a job, recycling will be looking for a part-timer at this point. So moving on to my town manager's report. We've applied for the COVID grant through the state of New Hampshire under the GOFER, which is the Governor's Office for Emergency Relief and Recovery. We've been allocated up to $162,000 in reimbursement money specific to COVID-19 related personnel expenses. And the first round goes from March 1st through April 30th, and it's due by the end of this month. So we're almost done with that and ready to submit it. We've also applied for FEMA grants for overtime in supplies, COVID-related expenses. Right now, we're at 7,000 with more coming, so that will build up as well. We've applied for a preliminary planning grant for the roads in Plymouth that coincide with the Plymouth Village Water and Sewer. Once we have approval, we'll see what roads can be done with the approved money in the $2.5 million bond that was approved at March meeting. I've been working on a reopening plan for town offices, which part I just said, beginning next week will be open to the public Wednesday, Thursday, Friday from 10 to 2. Ask that the public do as much as they can online, by mail, or using the drop box in front of the town hall at the top of the stairs. And if members of the public do need to come to the town hall, we ask that they call first and make an appointment and remember to wear a mask. There will be notices posted with rules to be followed. And as I said, if they could bring their own pens, that would be great. Our Memorial Day ceremony was a success to the extent that services could be held due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And you can view the service on the town's website, Pemmy Baker TV's Facebook page, and it's also airing on channel 1301 for the next couple of weeks. I've been diligently working to keep the budget spending to a minimum, spending money only on the necessities. I will have a preliminary report of where we're at by the end of June, and we believe that we will meet our budget even with the COVID-19 expenses. Revenues are a little more difficult to anticipate during this time, but we've been striving to seek and apply for whatever sources are available to help the municipality and our taxpayers. After a lot of communicating with state officials, land developer Mike McGinley, David McLean, Market Basket's operations manager, we finally got Market Basket opened, and it's a beautiful store and they are doing well. And we hope that people will visit them, but also by following the rules and regulations to keep everybody safe. Next week, we should have papers for the board to sign on the $2.5 million bond. It's a 1.75% interest rate, which is down from the original proposed rate. Some prepayment expenses from the bond that have taken place or will take place are all the light fixtures in the town hall have been replaced. I don't know if anybody's noticed that, but it's nice and bright down there now. And we think they replaced the bulbs in here. I'm not entirely sure. I guess it's a little brighter, but with LED lighting. So it was $12,000 for the light fixtures with a rebate from the co-op of $1,780. The Fox Park project is also on, as Larry told you earlier, is a project that we have in the works for the $34,700 plus $5,400 for engineering costs, and the ambulance for $250,000. So next for the town hall is new smoke alarms and HVAC system and furnace repairs to be done sometime in July. I've been meeting, Bill and I have both been meeting with the Plymouth State University Task Force for bringing students back to school in the fall safely. And it's a weekly meeting where Bill and myself meet with others to give input and recommendations for formulating a plan that we hope will be safe and help the students to return. So I think that's it for right now.
Okay, thank you, Kathy.
I do recommend that people watch the Memorial Day service because I think it's nice. I think it was good.
Yeah, I was impressed that, you know, there were more than a handful of people that showed up. So,
Right.
And they all had space between themselves. So,
Yeah.
Very good. So, do we have any committee reports?
None from me.
Okay. That was a no from Mary Ann. Neil?
No.
Good, then we'll break relatively soon, and we have a PERLAC meeting tonight at 7 o'clock. So you know, we'll have a report next time. So in that case, that is the end of our business. Is there a motion?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Okay, Mary Ann made a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Neil seconds by roll. Mary Ann, how do you
Aye.
vote? Neil?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Bill? Aye. Ayes have it. We're adjourned.